The roadside shimmered under the harsh midday sun when the single-dad mechanic eased his battered pickup onto the shoulder, not knowing that one simple act of kindness was about to crack open a past he had buried for years. Grease still stained his hands, his daughter's school bag lay on the passenger seat, and his heart was focused only on getting home before evening. Then he looked up at the stranded patrol car, and when the officer turned toward him, time seemed to stop. The face staring back was one he had never forgotten, a face tied to the worst day of his life, a face he had sworn he would never see again. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of doing the right thing even when it hurts, take a moment right now to like this video, comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel Dreams Dairy. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. Ethan Cole had built his life from broken parts, much like the engines he repaired in his small roadside garage. After his wife passed away years earlier, he became both mother and father to his 8-year-old daughter, Lila. Every day was a careful balance of school runs, long shifts under hot hoods, and late nights fixing whatever else life threw at him. Money was always tight, sleep was a luxury, and loneliness sat quietly beside him like an old ache. Still, Ethan believed in one thing without question. You stopped to help when someone needed it, no matter who they were. That belief was why he pulled over when he saw the disabled patrol car ahead, hood open, hazard lights flashing against the bright blue sky as Ethan stepped out, the familiar smell of hot metal and oil mixed with dust rising from the roadside. He approached the officer with the calm confidence of a man who had fixed engines since his teens. But when the officer lifted his head, adjusting his cap, recognition hit Ethan like a punch to the chest. It was Officer Marcus Hale, the man who had arrested Ethan years ago after a misunderstanding that spiraled into public shame, job loss, and the slow collapse of his marriage. Though the charges were dropped, the damage had been done. Ethan remembered the cold cuffs, the flashing lights, and Marcus's unreadable expression as his world fell apart. Now, under the unforgiving daylight, their eyes met again. Ethan felt his hands stiffen, memories flooding back of courtrooms, whispered gossip, and nights wondering how everything went so wrong. He could have turned around. He could have climbed back into his truck and driven away, telling himself it wasn't his problem. No one would have blamed him. But then he thought of Lila, of the lessons he tried to teach her about compassion, and he stayed. The patrol car's issue was simple enough: a loose belt and an overheated engine strained by hours of idle time. Ethan worked methodically, his movements precise, his mind wrestling with the weight of the moment. Marcus stood nearby, silent, the tension between them thick and uncomfortable. The sun climbed higher, sweat tracing lines through the grease on Ethan's arms as he fixed the problem that had stranded the officer. While he worked, Ethan's thoughts drifted to the years after that arrest. How neighbors stopped making eye contact. How his employer let him go quietly. How his wife's illness worsened under stress. And how alone he felt when she was gone. He never blamed Marcus entirely, but the pain had always carried his face. Helping him now felt like reopening a wound that never truly healed. When the engine finally roared back to life, steady and strong, something shifted. Marcus's posture softened, and his gaze lingered on Ethan with a weight that suggested regret. Without words, there was an understanding in the air, an acknowledgement of past mistakes and unspoken apologies. Ethan wiped his hands on a rag, his chest tight but lighter somehow, as if choosing kindness had loosened a knot he'd carried for too long. Marcus returned to his car, but before leaving, he paused, looking back at Ethan with a sincerity that hadn't been there years ago. That moment marked the beginning of change in ways Ethan couldn't have imagined. Days later, word spread through town about the mechanic who helped a stranded cop without hesitation. Customers returned. Old friends reappeared. Even the local paper ran a small piece about everyday heroes on the roadside. More importantly, Lila noticed the change in her father. He smiled more. He stood a little taller. One afternoon, he found an envelope slipped under the garage door. Inside was a letter from the department, acknowledging past errors and offering support to help Ethan expand his garage through a community program. Marcus's name was signed at the bottom, a quiet gesture of accountability and respect. Ethan realized then that healing didn't come from avoiding pain, but from facing it with integrity. The road that day had given him more than a chance to fix an engine. It gave him closure, dignity, and the reminder that kindness could rewrite endings that once felt permanent. Under the same bright sun that had witnessed his lowest moments, a new chapter had begun. Before we reach the end, please drop a comment right now and share what this story made you feel. Your words matter more than you know. As Ethan locked up the garage that evening, daylight fading gently into dusk, he held Lila's hand and felt something close to peace. Life was still hard. Bills would still come, but his heart was lighter, and his future no longer felt trapped by the past. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, and share this video so more people can be reminded that kindness, even in the hardest moments, can change everything.